Hello, everyone. Luciano Oliveira, Oliveira Lawyers. July the 3rd, and now is 12:45. I apologize for the delay. It looks like we had some difficulties connecting to the YouTube platform. I assume many of our friends are still trying to access the prior live stream link, but hopefully they are going to receive an email sharing about this new live stream. So it is the same live stream on Wednesday, but I had to create a new session because the prior one was not connecting to YouTube for some reason. Let me see if any of you are going to be able to find this new link. All right, it looks like we have a couple of people already. So people are finding the new live stream. Hopefully the quality is going to be good as well. Let me know if you can see me. Let me know if you can hear me. And happy to address topics of your interest as usual. We are here to discuss with the expat and foreign citizens interested in Brazil topics. All right, Hanks Woodfield. Welcome, Hanks. Good to see you over here. I guess you guys can see me, you guys can hear me. So let's get started. And I also saw WS Bill. Bill is in pretty much every single live stream we have here at Oliveira Lawyers. Bill is a friend of ours, and he was asking about the weather. So right now, I am in the northeast of Brazil, state of Ceará, and the temperature over here is pretty amenable. It's like 85 degrees. Okay, since I am, by the beach, it's not that hot. Like, I mean, there is a lot of wind, like in Ceará. Ceará is famous for the windy beaches, so there is a lot of sports. Many Europeans, they come from the UK, from France, from Italy, Germany, and they are going to practice sports that are going to require a lot of wind, okay? So a pretty interesting place over here. Hanks has a question for us. Hanks is asking, with the Brazilian currency value dropping against the US dollar, would the Viper for the northeastern Brazil still be 700,000? Thanks. Hanks, yes. So the minimum amount for the Viper visa in Brazil, it's based on Brazilian currency, and is still 700,000 as we speak. And your question, it does make sense because for many other visas, the amounts are actually set in US dollars. All right, let me give you an example. For you to secure the digital nomad visa. The digital nomad visa is a temporary visa. It's not like the Viper. The Viper, you get it for good, right? But the digital nomad visa is going to be good for a single year, renewable for just another year. So it's a very limited in time type of visa. And for the digital nomad, the main financial requirements are going to be that you have either $18,000 sitting in a bank account. It cannot be like an investment account. It got to be a bank account. It could be like a checking or a savings account. If it is a CD account and it looks pretty much like a bank account, so when the Brazilian immigration reviews the bank statements, they understand that this is a bank account. This would be acceptable as well. So we're talking about $18,000, right? There is another financial track for the digital nomad, which is making at least 1,500 US dollars a month. So you gotta pick one of those two routes. You're gonna either show a total of 18,000 in a bank account, and of course it can be, as much as you have, as long as it is at least 18,000. And the second route is you don't have the 18,000 sitting in a bank account, but you are making at least 1,500 US dollars per month, right? So here the amount is gonna be, the currency is US dollars, but curious enough, for the Viper, the amounts are based in Brazilian reais. Okay, so it is a good time for foreign citizens to buy properties in Brazil. The Brazilian currency value is dropping, but the property prices are not increasing, right? So foreign citizens have a pretty big advantage right now. And not surprisingly, just like I said in our last live stream, we have an uptick in the number of clients who are hiring our services to buy a property in Brazil. Okay, Hank. So that's it. The amount is in Brazilian reais. Now, something interesting for you guys to note is eventually the Brazilian government, particularly the current administration that is craving revenues to reduce the public deficit, they are gonna, of course, pay attention to the Viper visa and say, you know what, let's increase the amount. So for every single consultation we have here at the firm, we always have this warning, right? Like, this is the amount now, but we don't know if that's going to be the same thing 6 months down the road. Okay, just keep that in mind, Hanks. Donna, good day to all. Welcome, Donna. Donna is also in her journey towards living in Brazil, right, Donna? Donna is always attending our live streams. We are very glad to have you here, Donna. WS Bill, hi, Luciano. How's the weather out there? I heard you typing. Glad you got the problem solved. He was coming right over to see if I could help you out. Yes, Bill is a technology guy, I guess, right, Bill? And yes, Bill. So I'm happy too that we could improve the setup over here. And the weather here is wonderful. Right now it's 85 degrees Fahrenheit, of course. And I am by the beach. So pretty pleasant temperature, particularly because there is a lot of wind. So when I go outside the office, I actually enjoy the weather a lot, all right? And a good thing, I'm meeting more and more U.S. citizens here in Ceará. The state of Ceará, it's in the north of the northeastern states in Brazil. And it has been a major destination for Europeans since probably the 70s, okay, since the 70s. But for U.S. citizens, it's kind of a new destination, right? Like U.S. citizens are pretty attached to Rio de Janeiro. But like we are getting calls and consultations with U.S. citizens coming to Fortaleza, coming to Canoa Quebrada, Jericoacoara. I am here in Morro Branco, Beberibe. I'm going to write down Morro Branco, Beberibe. All right, that's where I actually stay here in Ceará. I have a house over here, okay? I have a house here in Ceará, and I do love the state, okay? And temperature is just great. All right. Okay, Hanks is asking a follow-up question. As a foreigner, would it be better to live in Fortaleza or Natal? Which city would have a better infrastructure? Hanks, I believe that Fortaleza has a better infrastructure. And historically, the most developed city in the Northeast would be Salvador, Bahia. But Fortaleza is taking over the first place. All right. So I don't have anything against Natal. We actually have a couple of transactions happening in Natal as we speak. We have a major transaction. Is a couple from the United States. They bought 5 separate plots of land, and they are building, like a large residence. I'm not sure if they are gonna eventually think about doing a pousada, right? An inn, or like it could be villas. I don't know what they have in mind, but this is one of our projects that we're handling as we speak in Natal. Okay, but Fortaleza, I believe, Hanks, that Fortaleza, it's way ahead of Natal in terms of infrastructure. Now, Natal, it still offers a lot of conveniences. So if you wanna go out for a nice meal, you're gonna have plenty of different types of restaurant. You're gonna have big malls to go to. There are amazing buildings by the beach. So if you wanna buy a condo, a beachfront property, you're gonna find plenty of opportunities in Natal. I would say it's more a matter of taste, or sometimes it's just a coincidence. Sometimes the person visits Natal first and fall in love with the city, and so if that's the case, it doesn't really matter that Fortaleza it's ahead of Natal in terms of infrastructure. I think that Natal is still a pretty good choice. And in my case, like, I know both cities, and it just happens that I come to Fortaleza more often, and it makes more sense for me to stay closer to Fortaleza and not closer to Natal. All right, but both cities, Hanks, are gonna be, in my opinion, a great option, no matter which. Okay, Donna. All right, great, correct. New York next week to get my birth certificate and apostille. All right, Donna. What about the FBI background check? Just remember, the FBI background check, it should be usually, right, like one of the last documents for you to work with, because once you get it, this document is going to be good for just 90 days. And there is like a challenge, which is you need to get an apostille or an apostille. It depends on how you pronounce the word, but if you get an apostille on the FBI background check, currently the Department of State, the U.S. Department of State in Washington, D.C., they are not accepting requests in person, so you need to ship the document to the Department of State, and they are taking about 3 to 4 weeks to provide the apostille for your document. Right, so altogether, if you think about it, you get the FBI background check, you send it to Washington, D.C., they receive it, they process, they get you the apostille, they ship it back to you. Just right there, we could be talking about a month and a half, okay? And then after that, we still need to translate your documents, we still need to assemble the package. So that's why we usually recommend for our clients, hire our services ahead of time, because then you don't need to, keep guessing the requirements, and that we can walk you through the exact steps and get you to the point in which you're going to be able to handle the application. All right, Donna. Another distinction, remember, if you are applying, for instance, for the retirement visa, while you're in the United States, you're gonna need the health insurance with coverage for Brazil, which is kind of rare, right? Like if you have a Blue Cross Blue Shield, Aetna, and it's like an average plan, usually this plan is not gonna cover Brazil. If it is like a higher end plan, in this case, it may have coverage for Brazil. So we usually tell our clients, listen, if you have such coverage, it may be a good idea to apply at the consulate level. If you don't have such coverage, it may be a better idea to apply while in Brazil, and then after you get the visa, or better saying, the residency in Brazil, then you can get health insurance for a much better price and of a much higher quality. All right, because when you buy health insurance just to satisfy the Brazilian consulate, usually you're gonna end up buying something that's not really operational in Brazil, and it's gonna be more expensive. It's what we call health insurance for gringos. Okay, it's almost like, I'm not gonna say it's a scam, but it's something that it does not compare to the health insurance that we have in Brazil. They are more like, difficult for you to use, difficult for you to get reimbursement, and they are usually 3 to 4 times more expensive than what we have in Brazil. I hope that helps, Donna. All right. Okay, Brazil unsubtitled. Mark, I was thinking about you, Mark. We need to get together, right? Hi, Luciano. How have you been? I'm doing great, Mark. I hope you are doing well. It has been a while since we spoke last time, and we should be getting together, Mark. Let me know how is your availability, and hopefully we're gonna meet soon. Bill says, Luciano, what do you do for fun? All right. That's a good question, Bill. All right. So I usually, I have children, right? And I usually go out with my kids, and I actually love arcades. Okay. I am that guy from the 80s who are still in love with arcades, pinballs, and so whenever I have an opportunity, whenever I am in Rio de Janeiro, for instance, they have a really decent arcade park in a Barra Mall, and the name of the arcade is Hot Zone. Okay, Hot Zone. So there is also Hot Zone in some other capitals of Brazil. So whenever I am in a city that has arcades, there I am, there I go with my kids, and then we're gonna play, arcades. I like to play pinball a lot. I think I do play pinball really well. Sometimes, I'm gonna be playing for an hour with just a single coin, right? It's a virtual coin. It's not a coin anymore. Back in the day, we would play with quarters, right? In the United States, quarters. In Brazil, we would actually buy something that would emulate a quarter. So in the United States, actual quarters. In Brazil, you would take your cash to the cashier, and then the cashier would give you a coin, right? Again, it's not a U.S. quarter, but it was a coin for you to be able to play, the arcades and the pinballs and the pinball machines as well. Nowadays, when you go to Hot Zone, and it's probably just like as it is in the United States, you're gonna buy a card, you're gonna add some credit to your card, and then with your card, you're gonna be able to play as much as you want. And by the way, I read, I never been to, but I heard news or read news about Player One. I think Player One is the name of this company. They are coming from Tokyo. They are the main company for arcades and pinballs and those gift machines, and they also have pinball tables, and they are entering the United States because they said, we own Japan, we are unable to expand anymore, so now we're gonna enter the U.S. markets. And it's very unusual, right? Because we know about the car manufacturers. They came to the United States a long time ago, but now they are entering the United States for arcades, pinballs, and other types of machines. I know that there is a location in Texas. I think it is in Grapevine, but I know they have many other locations as we speak. So if you are in the United States, if I'm not mistaken, the name of the company is Player One. And it looks like it's an amazing experience for those of you who like arcades and pinball and this type of fun activities. All right, Bill. So that was one of the things that I like to do, Bill. And now let me ask you, Bill, what do you like to do with your free time? All right, Donna say, hi, Marcos. Probably Donna is talking about Mark. And Benny P, I emailed you 5 days ago. No response. Thank you for letting us know, Benny. I'm going to ask our team to check for your email. All right. I'm not sure if you are saying that you sent an email to me personally or you sent an email to the firm. Right. I have 2 people who work with me and help me with the emails. Most of the time, I am either taking a consultation or meeting with our team members or meeting with ongoing clients over Zoom. So I'm not really good at answering emails, all right? But that's why we have a law firm over here with, very professional employees who are taking good care of our clients. But I'm going to ask our team to check it, Benny, and thank you for letting me know. All right. WS Bill says, hi, Mark. Why such a short stream the other day? What a short stream, right? I remember, Bill, we had some technical issues, but that's just one more reason for us to, join Mark in a new live stream. I'm really excited to do that, Mark. And I was actually thinking about you these days. I said, listen, I need to send an email, a message, a WhatsApp, something to Mark so we can get together again. All right, Donna. Donna says, FBI, are you do it there? All right, do it there. I assume you're talking. You're going to do it. All right, you are going to do it. Okay, so we're going to be doing for you, Donna. Is that so? Just let us know. We're glad to assist you whenever you are ready. Benny is asking, can I pay your firm to get me and my girlfriend a CPF? Benny, we used to do that. Okay, for a long time we used to issue CPFs. The CPF is a Brazilian tax ID for customers, but because of the increased red tape since the new administration took over last year, we are no longer selling this service on a standalone basis. Okay, so we actually provided the CPF issuance service free of charge for our clients for immigration and for real estate, right? So if you're going to buy a property, you don't have a CPF, you don't need to go anywhere. We issue the CPF on your behalf through a power of attorney and so on. And that's the same thing for our immigration services. Now, let me explain why we don't want to sell that as a standalone service. Because when we apply for the CPF on your behalf, we actually we need to explain to the Brazilian Revenue Service why we are getting your CPF, right? So if we're just going to get a CPF for someone, we cannot say, well, I'm getting the CPF because they are paying me, right? That doesn't work exactly like that. The correct approach is we are getting the CPF for this client because they are getting a specific visa for Brazil. So they're getting the digital nomad. They're going to stay for a couple of years in Brazil. Therefore, Brazilian Revenue Service, I want you to issue the Brazilian tax ID known as a CPF on behalf of my client, and here is the power of attorney giving us powers to represent the client, right? So in the past, there wasn't as much, like red tape. It was just like filing a few forms. Actually, Benny, believe it or not, until October, and it was October 11 of 2023, you could basically apply for a CPF in 10 minutes by sending an email to the Brazilian Revenue Service. But, in January of last year, the new administration took place, and they started to review everything done by the prior administration, and anything that was resembling, like too much, how can I say, making the lives of foreign citizens too easy, they said, listen, that's not how it should work. Let's, undo that. So they closed that door, and now we need like specific representation forms, and we need to explain to the Brazilian Revenue Service why we, as a law firm, are getting a Brazilian tax ID on your behalf. And therefore, because we want to be always conservative and work, safely, both for us as professionals and you as the client, we are not issuing a CPF tax IDs as a standalone service anymore. But if you, for instance, if you're gonna get some type of a special visa, such as the digital nomad, then good news, we're not gonna even charge you for that. All right, Benny. Now, if you're just trying to do things on your own, or you just need a CPF, you are unsure about, like securing a visa, another path for you to consider is to just schedule a visit to a Brazilian consulate. And I agree, dealing with consulates in general is a pain in the neck. So if you're trying to avoid that, I completely understand. But this is the default. This is the default route for foreign citizens, right? Like if you ask the Revenue Service, listen, how do I get a Brazilian tax ID? And they say, well, where are you? And you say, I am here in New York. They say, listen, you gotta go to the consulate. Okay, that's the standard. That's the number one route for foreign citizens to get a Brazilian tax ID known as a CPF. And I get it; it's a pain in the neck to deal with consulates. But there you go. That's the information about how to get a Brazilian tax ID known as a CPF. Ellie. All right, Ellie, good to see you. Ellie is back, and Ellie has some questions. Ellie says, hi, Luciano. For the retirement visa, there is no need to be retired, just to prove the $2,000 a month. Can my portfolio of investment in stocks be used to prove it? Showing that in the last 9 months, it grew $3,000 per month. Ellie, in my understanding, unfortunately not. I would say that most of the income that you're going to be presenting must come from traditional retirement accounts. All right, and I would say, if you have a portfolio of investment in stocks, it could be like a Vanguard fund. It could be like, accounts at E-Trade, for instance, right? As long as they are generic stocks, I don't think they are really retirement accounts, all right? So most of the 2,000 gotta come from traditional retirement accounts. And therefore, ideally, you would have at least 1,000 coming from Social Security. Okay. Now, if you're not using your Social Security yet because you're not retired, just like you said, maybe you have something, that you are drawing already, and then it could be an IRA, it could be a 401k, it could be annuities. All right. And the concept over here is that you have a stream of secure income, right? You have income that you can rely not just for the long term, but pretty much for the remainder of your life. That's the idea. So you come to Brazil, you're going to spend $2,000 a month. Brazil is happy with that arrangement, right? But if you don't have that secure, that steady flow of income, then Brazil gets concerned, and maybe you're not going to get the visa. Now, remember, I said most of the income needs to come from traditional retirement. So let's say if you have a traditional Social Security of income for $1,010, right? $1,010. So in this case, you could have a complement for $990 coming from your investments in the stock, because then the Brazilian government is going to look and say, listen, I see what's going on here. Like, he has retirement income, but his retirement income is not enough to get him through for the $2,000 dollar requirement, but he's bringing additional income to help him meet the requirement. And that is going to resemble the language of the regulation for the Brazil retirement visa. All right, Ellie, I hope it makes sense. Brazil unsubtitled. Guys, don't forget to smash the like button here. Help Luciano's video and channel. I really appreciate Mark. Today, Mark is the one saving me from remembering the like thing. Usually it's Bill. I'm glad that Mark brought that up. Yes, if you guys could please do me a favor and like this live stream. More people will find our live stream, and once this live stream becomes a recording, the recording is also going to be found by other people just like you. Moses, nice to have you here today. I remember, I think Moses knows about Mark, so that's probably a reference to Mark. Welcome, Moses. Good to see you over here. Moses is always tuned to the Brazil content around, right, Moses? Really glad to have you over here. Benny says, me and my girlfriend will have a baby in Rio. How much to handle getting us the permanent residency in Brazil after we have the baby? Do I have to send our birth certificates to Washington, D.C.? Benny, so we have like a process to provide you with a quote, but I'm gonna take a look and see if I can find your email and follow up with our team, and then they can send you some reference information on the fees. Okay, on the document side, yes, like the main support for your application for the permanent residency is going to be the birth certificate for the child, right? If your child is going to be born in Brazil, that would allow you to apply for permanent residency right after a birth certificate is issued for your child. And by the way, congratulations, all right? But you also going to need a lot of documents for you and your girlfriend. I don't know if your girlfriend happens to be from Brazil. If she's from Brazil, of course, she has all the paperwork and she doesn't need the residency, right? But assuming, and it looks like that's the case, both of you are from the United States. In this case, yes, you're going to need your birth certificate with an apostille. And the apostille for the birth certificate, it does not go usually to Washington, D.C. unless you were born in Washington, D.C. Washington, D.C. Is going to be the place in which you're going to get the apostille for your FBI background check. Think along with me, Benny. FBI background check, it's a federal agency, right? The FBI, federal agency. And therefore, for you to validate the document, you need to go after the U.S. Department of State, which of course is based in Washington, D.C. Right? Now, for the birth certificate, this is not a federal document. It's actually a state level document. So if you were born in California, for instance, instead of going to Washington, D.C., you're actually going to Sacramento, which is the capital of California. And that's where the California Department of State, or better saying, they call it Secretary of State, is based. Right? So you're going to apply for an apostille from the Secretary of State in California if you happen to be born in California, right? If you were born in Texas, the same reasoning, and then you're going to go to Austin. New York, there are actually 2 offices. There is one in Albany, and there is a second one in the financial district in Manhattan. So there are 2 options in New York. And so on. And now if you think, well, but I'm gonna need to go over there, I'm living in a different state. So most of our clients, they are gonna actually use a third-party service to do that, to do the legwork on their behalf. So you don't need to buy, of course, like a flying ticket and spend a couple of days handling this process by yourself. You can basically just hire someone to do that. Okay. So, just remember, in your case, birth certificate for both of you and your spouse or your partner, okay? And the birth certificate needs to get an apostille from the state in which you were born. And for the FBI background check, there is a need for the FBI background check to receive an apostille from Washington, D.C. This is probably, these two documents are probably going to take most of your time to get. There is still several other requirements, but I would say they are probably easier to meet than the birth certificate and the FBI background check, right? Like the birth certificate, not surprisingly, like many people in the United States, you never do anything with your birth certificate, right? And then, unfortunately, Brazil has this big attachment to the birth certificate, and then people is going to scramble, right? Like, I mean, to find a new one. Sometimes if you don't have an existing birth certificate, then you need to order one. And if you needed to order one, I'm gonna share the link for one of the largest providers of birth certificates in the United States. Right? Basically, they do the legwork on your behalf, and then you don't need to get crazy about getting a new birth certificate. The name of the company is Vital Check. Okay, it's right there. The link. You can click on it and order the birth certificates. Once you get it, you send it to the apostille service. They take care of it. They send it to you. FBI background check you can do. There are usually service providers at the state level. They're gonna take your fingerprints, handle the paperwork, and like 6 months down the road, they are gonna send you the apostilled version of your FBI background check. All right, Benny, I hope that helps. Moses, I bought studios that are still under construction after making 100% payment for a period of 1 year. What documents should I request from the construction company to guarantee ownership of the purchase? So, Moses, you're not going to be able to acquire legal ownership until the studios are ready, all right? Because the deed, like when the property is under construction, right? Like you're buying a pre-construction property, there is gonna be a deed first for the land, all right? There is no building, so just a deed for the land. It makes sense, right? Now, after they start to build, they are gonna do an update to the deed. Saying that there is an ongoing building on the land. So that's a second update to the deed. Now, the deed for the individual unit is not going to be available until the unit is actually finished up and available for you to move into the unit. All right, so let's say if you are buying the studio now and the studio is going to be ready in 2026, there is not much you should be doing until 2026, right? Because you're not going to be able to get the deed until the unity is ready. All right, Moses, but let's assume maybe, the unity is going to be ready next year. So after you made 100% of the payment and the unity is ready, you're going to attend a meeting to sign the deed of sale. Right, the deed of sale. Of course, you're going to have paid the price at that point, so it's more like a formality. But that's the formality of transferring the legal ownership from the developer to you as a buyer. All right, Moses, I hope this helps. Bill says, yes, Luciano, I do a lot of biking, over 50 miles last week, and a lot of salsa dancing. I have a blast. I bet. I know salsa is an amazing type of dance. I really like it. Unfortunately, I'm not really a good dancer. I wish I was, but if I was, I would be joining you, Bill, for some lessons. And it's pretty interesting because, like, it doesn't matter where you go in the United States, there is going to be a salsa place. right, Bill? Correct me if I'm wrong. So salsa is pretty big in the United States. It does not matter where you go, you find a salsa place for you to go. All right, Brazil unsubtitled. When are you coming to São Paulo? Probably, Mark. I'm probably going to São Paulo in a couple of weeks. Actually, the week of July the 21st. Yeah, July the 21st. Okay, so maybe we can schedule something. I know you were planning to do something outdoor, and it may be an opportunity for that. All right, Mark, let's talk about it. Let's see how our schedules work. But yes, probably in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be in Sao Paulo. All right, Arnold McGregor, welcome back. Arnold, are you of a French descent? You look French. Yes, yes. So I have, like my grandparents from my mother's side. They were from Spain, and on my father's side, they are from Portugal. Okay, so like just like I don't know, like many or much of the Brazilians, we still have like a connection to Europe, but interesting enough, like my wife, like she is of a French descent, right? But not me. In my case, it's gonna be a Portuguese and Spaniard descent, right? Like my mother's family, they came from Madrid, and from my father's side, I don't really know. Like we really never got much information on our origin. But not surprisingly, right? Like, I mean, if you guys take a look at our homepage right now, we are expanding our services to cover both Portugal and Spain, and basically because of this connection, this cultural connection, not only on a personal level, but Brazil and Portugal, of course, they're super close. It's just like the United States and the UK. And Spain is another, main choice for foreign citizens from the United States, particularly when they are trying to find a new place to stay, right? So Portugal and Spain, they kind of complement our business model. And that's such an interesting question, Arnold. Thank you for asking. And by the way, you, Arnold, where are you from? MacGregor, right? MacGregor. I would guess Scotland or the UK. Let us know, Arnold, where you come from. Hanks, how much do you charge for a Viper visa from start to finish if it is a property in northeastern Brazil? Hanks, we are charging here like for an all-inclusive process, right? Like we handle not only the real estate transaction, but we provide like advisory prior to the real estate transaction. We handle the real estate transaction. After the real estate transaction, we handle the actually Viper application. And there are many other things that go along with that. We charge 5% of the property amount, okay? We charge 5% of the property amount, and that's going to be what we call an all-inclusive service. We help with the currency exchange. And I've seen, right, like, I mean, most people, they don't have an issue with our fee. Some people, they do, right? So just like yesterday, there was a prospective client. She said, well, but there is another lawyer charging 3%, right? And I said, I understand. And it's really your choice to pick the lawyer that you like. But I know the service that we provide. We have a between we usually inform and we show, like when we are presenting our services on a consultation, we have a between 300 and 400 activities, and we need to charge accordingly, right? Otherwise, we're gonna charge less, but we're not gonna provide the level of service that people are expecting. Okay, so our choice is to always deliver what we are selling, and for that we need to charge what we charge. I hope that makes sense. Benny, will have to go to the consulate for the CPF if I get a package, citizenship by birth from a firm. So if your firm helps us with these documents, do I still have to go to the consulate? No, you don't need, Benny. Like if you're using, like I was explaining, like if you're using our immigration services, in this case, that's what I need. That's what our firm needs to tell the revenue service that they are going to be issuing the CPF on your behalf because we are working on your immigration, right? So we can file, like you're going to see, there is a poll for attorney form, there is a bunch of papers. We just send this stuff for you to sign. But pretty much whenever we are representing on something, that's when we can ask the revenue service to issue the Brazilian tax CPF on your behalf. So yes, if you're getting the permanent residency, so it's not the citizenship, right, Benny? Yeah, the citizenship by birth. So it's not that you don't get a citizenship, you get permanent residency, okay? That's the first step. You need to become a permanent resident. There are many steps that are going to be within the scope of getting the permanent residency. And for you to apply for the citizenship is another stage of your journey. All right, don't forget that for you to secure citizenship in Brazil, you need to speak, you need to write, you need to understand advanced Portuguese. So in our experience, and of course I don't know your specifics, but for most people this is not going to happen in a year, right? Because something interesting for you to know, there is the so-called fast track for Brazilian citizenship, and this fast track is available for the parents of a Brazilian child. So in your plan, there would be access to the fast track citizenship application. However, you need to remember that whenever you are applying, you're gonna take like some very demanding exams to assess your fluency in Portuguese. Again, truth like essays, listening, and interpretation, and conversations and recording. So it's a pretty big deal, all right? So just factor that into your planning. Remember, you're not going to apply for citizenship. Nobody applies for citizenship from the get-go. First thing, you need to secure permanent residency. And after you are a permanent resident and you are able to communicate in an advanced level of Portuguese, that's when you can start to work on your citizenship application. All right, Mark says, awesome. I agree, Mark. I'm pretty excited for us to meet. Bill says, yes, all over, every night of the week, Luciano. I will teach you salsa dance. I've been a dance instructor for over 54 years. That's amazing, Bill. It would be my pleasure. So you are a true professional, right? Like after 54 years, I'm sure you know this thing inside out. Pretty interesting. Kudos to you, Bill. Arnold, I'm from Ireland. It's a nice place. I currently live in Dublin. Have you ever visited? Yeah, I mean, I've been to England, right? So I would say the UK, but not Ireland, right? I understand the distinction. Also, have you ever thought about applying for citizenship by descent? I heard Spain is offering that. Yes, Arnold. And actually, I may need to do that because now that we are expanding to Spain and Portugal, my plan is to, be at least licensed in each of those two countries. Portugal, because, like the relationship between Portugal and Brazil is pretty easy. Not pretty easy, like we still need to go through examinations, but I would say it's more straightforward for us to secure a license in Portugal, but not Spain. Spain is a little bit more, how can I say, more challenging in terms of becoming an attorney in Spain. So, I'm considering the citizenship. You are absolutely right. Usually for Portugal and Spain, what you need to do is like for you, let's say you need to apply as long as you have grandparents from Portugal or Spain. Okay, and in my case, it was my grandparent. But thank God, my mother, she's still alive, and so me and my daughter, like we are working on getting the citizenship first for my mother, the Spaniard citizenship for my mother, and once my mother has the citizenship, then I can also apply, and my daughter can apply as well. All right, Arnold. But that's a great idea, and that's something we are working on for sure. Hanks, wow, 5% is a great deal. No negotiation needed. Glad to hear that, Hanks. After my investment hopefully go up next year, I will be definitely contacting your firm. Thanks. I appreciate that, Hanks. Yes, a lot of people, they understand the value that we bring to the table, and that's the right type of prospect for our firm, right? Like, and then they come on board. It's almost like it's a true relationship because we're gonna be together for several months, and we work together. I work in the project. We have an additional a couple of professionals here at the firm that are gonna join us. For real estate, we have Paulo Salles, we have Marina, we have Livia. And we have many other people also from, for instance, the Currency Exchange Bank who are going to work with us. If you need assistance, like sending a container to Brazil, that's something we also do help through a partner. So, like once you get on board, I mean, you get so much value from us that I do agree with you, Hanks. I think it's a great price. So that's why whenever people try to negotiate on price, we say, listen, we cannot give you a break because otherwise we're going to be overcharging others. And in our experience, right, like what we deliver is going to surpass the 5% that we charge a lot, right? Not to mention that in Brazil, there is no escrow account, right? There is no escrow account. There is no title insurance. And we see people losing their shirts every single month. Okay, I don't like to take lawsuits here at the firm. We work more on advisory, but we do have lawsuits against developers, believe it or not, in Brazil. Okay, developers who don't deliver what they sell, particularly when they are smaller, right? Like when they are bigger developers, Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo, very difficult for you to have a problem big enough for you to have it to sue. But when you buy smaller properties, particularly villas by the beach, like this is the number one reason for lawsuits here at the firm. And people are gonna, easily lose like $100,000, a couple of $100,000. They pay the price, the developer never delivers, and eventually they understand that unless they sue, they are not gonna get anything out of this opportunity, the so-called opportunity, right? So many times, when you are trying to save money, you may end up in a situation in which you are losing a lot of money, okay? All right, Donna says, vital check, $50 for birth certificate and $150 for the apostille. Sounds about right, okay, Donna? So it depends on the state. Some states, they are gonna have easier access to the apostille, so it may be cheaper. Some states like California is usually more cumbersome. Everything is expensive in California. Usually it's more expensive. So it depends on the state, but those numbers, they sound about right. Moses, in a pre-construction purchase, should a lawyer draw up a contract for the sale of the property and transfer of ownership rights to me, or can the construction company do this for me without a lawyer? Moses, if you're dealing with a large developer, usually they are more than capable of handling all of those things. All right. For pre-construction transactions, whenever clients are hiring us, it's because they need to secure the golden visa or the Viper, right? it is because they are buying from a smaller size developer and they are afraid they are not going to get what they are being promised. But for mid-size and larger sizes, I would say, like they should be able to handle everything, okay? And now some clients, like in Rio de Janeiro, particularly if they are buying a really high ticket property, they may want us to actually negotiate on their behalf, right? So that happened before. We had a client from Switzerland a couple of years ago. He bought 8.5 million reais beachfront property. I don't recall the neighborhood. I think it was probably Leblon or Ipanema, right? And he wanted to negotiate terms, and there was a couple of things over there that didn't make much sense. And the smaller buyers, they would accept, right? Because for smaller buyers, the developers, they don't really care much. And they say, listen, you either take this contract or you go elsewhere, right? That's how a bigger developer is going to deal with like a smaller buyer. Now, if you're buying something for 8.5 million reais is a different story. And then you have a more like bargain power, to negotiate with the developer. So in this case, we were hired to negotiate. It wasn't on a percentage basis because the gentleman, he actually had the residency through marriage. So it was basically just a pure real estate transaction in Rio de Janeiro. All right, Donna says going in person, so my documents stay in my possession. All right, Donna, I see you are being very careful. And we have a case this week, like this past week, in which super rare, extremely rare, our client had his birth certificate lost by UPS. All right, now that's the information he told us, right? Like the UPS had lost his birth certificate, so he was really mad. This was going to throw a wrench on his application, but it's super rare. Like, I mean, the last time I heard about a personal documents being lost or misplaced, it was probably a couple of months ago, right? So it's super rare, and most people, they are going to rely on either, like United States Postal Services, or if documents are being sent cross-border, we're going to recommend, of course, like Federal Express or UPS if you guys are in the United States. In Europe, very common, it's going to be like UPS and DHL, right? DHL and UPS. All right, but I understand, Donna, listen, if you can do it by yourself, documents stay in your possession, it sounds like a smart decision as well. Moses, do I need to do legal diligence when I'm purchasing a pre-construction property? Moses, I think it's always a good idea, right, to check what's going on, because like even larger developers, sometimes they have financial issues, and this could translate into delays in terms of delivering the property. Okay, so maybe it's not like a full legal diligence in a sense that you're gonna, do what we do when you're buying from a private party, from an individual seller, right? But I think it's always smart to do some level of checking, because again, after your money is in someone else's pocket, good luck, trying to recover through a lawsuit, right? Like, I mean, you can probably, get a settlement, but it's very difficult for you to recover the entirety of your money, particularly if the developer is not delivering what they said they would in the first place. When you get to the point of, chasing this person's assets, like, I mean, usually it is in a certain stage in which they are actively hiding assets from creditors, right? So always good to have some level of check before you put your money in someone else's pocket. Donna, plus excuse to visit family before heading to Brazil. That's great. Yeah, nothing better than visiting family, right, Donna? All right, I wanna thank you guys for showing up today. I appreciate your willingness to find our replacement live stream, because the first one didn't work well. The second one, it did work. And we're not going to have a live stream this weekend. Okay, so if you take a look at our live stream section on YouTube, you're going to see that the next live stream is scheduled for a couple of weeks from today. So we are not going to have a live stream on July the 7th, but we're going to have a live stream on July the 14th. All right, and we also going to have a live stream on July the 10th. Okay, so if you check our website a few minutes from now, you're going to be able to click on notify me. That helps, like when we start the live stream, you get a notification and you can think about topics of your interest to be discussed in our next live stream. I wish you guys a blessed rest